144 CAMDENs. This is a video made by one of the clients, consumers of St George Community Housings. St George Community Housing Limited, New South Wales. They have the head lease for this property. Before I get on with the first part, or actually what the video is about, this is a piece of Rio. It goes in the concrete. Now, this was a part cut out from when contractors accidentally cut the wiring and then had to cut into the concrete, repaired it, backfilled, but of course left this out. Why they didn't get rid of it, I do not know to this day. Wow, that's a humdinger. There's a common driveway light. Okay. One of the units at the front has retainer wall, 5 units at the front of 144 CAMDEN, and there's patios out there, and iron bars, pipes, square pipes are used, and bricks, and then cross frame wood, and then pickets, oh, it's not the right word, palings. It's very pretty. A little bit dangerous because they got ornate tops on them, the fence palings, and they're spaced out, and these poles are spaced out. Now over time the plastic caps that were on them had deteriorated. Now I brought this to the attention of St George Community Housing. My name is Mark. Now, this occurred at Unit 5. The handyman for St George came along. This is just a presentation, so that it could have been taken by St George and kept to show this is what we don't want to see happen. Unit 5 post cut away, top rusted area. It ended up in the garden, not bin. The client of that unit and myself were watching the St George worker with a hacksaw cutting this at an angle, okay? At an angle. And that is as sharp as. So the idea was, because this was deteriorating, there was no top on it, I had sourced the metal tops to go over the top of that. The idea being is if you fall or you need to lean on the fence, that these posts are what you lean on. But you don't want to lean on something that's going to cut your hand open, especially like in my with my disability, where I don't have trunk muscles, that I do need to push back. So he's cut this at an angle so that whoever is going to lean on it is going to lean onto that. And the guy, I believe from memory, tried to push the plastic cap back on there, which was never going to work. And then took this and just tossed it in the garden, which the client and I just looked at each other, stupefied. So this occurred around December 2015, and again it was Unit 5. So just to cut this out. I did a good job to make sure I'd be safe. I should have worn my gloves for this. Wow, I did a really good job. So that's what it got to. And it took a while for us to get St George to even do that. And then eventually, because I believe having shown one of the St George employees who was in a higher position than and dealing with disabilities, though the previous disability officer from St George nowhere to be seen. So, but this was the what's the word for it? So, in regards to how do I explain it? Okay, when the units are inspected by St George, this is the type of stuff they should pick up on. We pay rent, comes out of, the majority of us now don't work. It comes out of our pension money. And then the rental assistance comes directly from the government. So in both cases, money comes directly from the government through us into St George. And then with that money, they then are supposed to maintain the property. But the case is that, well, if they can get away with not doing it, they won't do it. It's that simple. One of the drawbacks too, and I'll just quickly throw it in if I can, that when you complain about these things, if something's not done, like say for example the post was left like this, we complain, okay, hypothetical, you complain, then that's got to go through a process. Instead of coming out and doing the job properly immediately, it'll go through a process, leaving you back at 6 to 8 weeks perhaps, I'm just spitballing. Then you can maybe put in an appeal. Now, if you don't put in an appeal and they justify themselves, St George will not do anything about that. They will leave that like that. Whatever it is, they will leave it. So you've got a choice. Leave it like that, which I'm assuming a lot of St George community housing consumers are doing. They're just leaving things like that because they don't want the stress of that and then complaining about it and then being left high and dry by St George. It is demoralising. I was just saying, rights and responsibilities. We have a right to some expectation of good outcomes, competent outcomes, value for money. I've never seen a budget for this property since St George has managed it. There was when it was held by Havenco Housing Cooperative. I know because I was a director of Havenco Housing Cooperative. I helped build this property. So that's just, there are many things like this that St George has let it be. And I just added in that complaints process, so be warned. And for the parents that go through the process of putting in a complaint, be really aware that your children are watching what's going on, because they can feel the pain that you're feeling, and you're going to need to explain to them sometimes it's not worth the battle, or sometimes you are going to lose battles. There are people, there are organisations that are bigger than you, and though the law is on your side, you're still not going to win. But don't let that discourage you. Don't allow intergenerational behaviour to affect your children. Okay? Mums and dads out there. It's really important. Be it St George doesn't care about the service they provide. They will cover themselves every opportunity they get. Always encourage your kids to keep going and have a go. Alright. Observation is by Mark at 144 Camden Street on St George Community Housing that holds the head lease for this property in New South Wales, Australia.